Hey guys, it's Zander here, and today we are looking at Modern. This is a green-white Infect deck that I put together for you guys. Just going to touch over the main deck here, talk about sideboard, interactions between, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Now before I start on the Infect creatures of the deck, the 4 copies of Giver of Runes is what makes the deck really work well and super consistent. So Giver of Runes is for 1 white. It's a 1/2 core cleric with tap. Another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice until end of turn. This allows us to give much needed protection to our creatures, or just gives us the ability to get through with Infect damage, winning us the game. The card is bonkers. I absolutely love it. 4 copies of Noble Hierarch, pumping up our squad when we're going in. For 1 green, it's a 0/1 human druid with Exalted, so whenever a creature attacks alone, it gets +1/+1, and it also has tap to add green, white, or blue, just adding to the ramp in the deck. Really good, allowing us to play more pumps in the early game. Touching on the Infect creatures in the deck, the 4 copies of Glistener Elf. For 1 green, it's a 1/1 elf warrior with Infect. So it deals damage to creatures in the form of -1 counters or to players in the form of poison counters. For anyone not familiar with Infect, if you have 10 poison counters on you, you lose the game. The whole point of the deck is damage is dealt in the form of Infect counters, so we're just trying to pump up these creatures as big as possible, get through for 10 damage, and win the game. Because we've steered away from the usual Simic Infect, we're not running the blue unblockable guy, but we are running the 4 copies of Icaclaw Mer. For 2 generic, he's a 1/1 artifact creature Mer with Infect, and whenever he becomes blocked, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So if they block it at all, it's going to get pumped. If we can give it more pumps and trample, super good for what the deck's trying to do. The only other Infect creature in the deck is the 4 copies of Inkmoth Nexus, which is a land with tap, add 1 generic, or you can pay 1 and Inkmoth Nexus becomes a 1/1 Blinkmoth artifact creature token with flying and Infect until end of turn. It's still a land. So even without protection, we still have evasive creatures, but the whole idea usually is to get one of our Infect creatures down early enough that by turn 2 or 3 we can swing in for lethal damage, which is made super easy by the pump package that we do have in the deck. So we're running 4 copies of one of the awesome cards that come out of the Modern Horizons set, and that's Scale Up. For 1 green, at sorcery speed, until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a green worm with base power and toughness 6/4. So for 1, our 1/1 becomes a 6/4, and then we throw all the other pumps on it at instant speed after the fact. It's also got an overload for 6, but we're not caring about that. For 1 mana, something's a 6 power guy. Fucking insane. This thing is crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. Just being able to make something so stupidly big, it's just made it so that we can very easily turn 2 kill someone with this. It's crazy. Might of Crosser in 4 of, for 1 green at instant speed, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, but if you cast this during your main phase, that creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn instead. So we can go turn 1, Glistener Elf, turn 2, Scale Up, it's a 6/4, and then play Might of Crosser on main phase, it gets +6, we're still swinging in for 10 on turn 2. If they can't interact with it or they can't block it, we just win. That's about as easy as it gets. And the rest of the deck is just adding redundancy to it or adding protection to it, so it just gets easier to do going into the mid to late game. The 4 copies of Mutagenic Growth for 1 Phyrexian green at instant speed, so we can either pay 1 green or pay 2 life, so we can play it for free. Target creature gets +2/+2. So if we have a couple of these in hand, it's just as good as the Might of Crosser. Just add into the absurd shit that this deck can do. The 4 copies of Blossoming Defense and the 4 copies of Vines of Vastwood, adding to the awesome protection that's in the deck, as well as pumps. So Blossoming Defense is for 1 green at instant speed. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. And the 4 copies of Vine of Vastwood, which is for 1 green at instant speed. Target creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control, but if it was kicked, it also gets +4/+4. Adding to the removal of the deck is 4 copies of Path to Exile. For 1 white, it's at instant speed, exile target creature. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle their library. And to finish off the spells and also add to the protection, we have 2 copies of Apostle's Blessing, which is for 2, 1 and 1 Phyrexian white, so either 1 white or 2 life. Target artifact or creature you control gains protection from artifacts or from a color of your choice until end of turn, basically just giving us more effects similar to the Giver of Runes. And at 1 of any color mana and paying 2 life, the card is absolutely insane. It's really good. Touching on the rest of the land base here, we have 4 copies of Horizon Canopy. With tap, pay 1 life to add green or white, or pay 1 tap and sack it to draw a card. Helps us dig through our deck a little bit in the early game. 3 copies of Razorverge Thicket, which comes in tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. Tap for green or white. 3 copies of Temple Garden, which is a Forest Plains, comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. A couple of copies of Pendlehaven, which is a legendary land with tap, add 1 green, or you can tap, target 1/1 creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn, just adding to the potential buffs in the deck. And to finish off the land base, 2 forests. Touching on the sideboard here, because we are using the white, we're able to run 3 copies of Leyline of Sanctity, which is for 4, 2 and 2 white. It's an enchantment with the Leyline ability, so if it's in our opening hand, it can start on the battlefield. And the rest of the card simply reads, you have Hexproof, which absolutely shits on hand hate and burn strategies. 2 copies of Rest in Peace, shitty on graveyard strategies, for 2, 1 and a white. It's an enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, you exile all cards from all graveyards. And if a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. 2 copies of Spellskite for 2. It's a 0/4 artifact creature horror with Phyrexian blue, so either 1 blue or paying 2 life. Change the target of target spell or ability to Spellskite, just giving us another super effective way to protect our creatures. More graveyard hate in the form of Relic of Progenitus. For 1, it's an artifact that sits on the battlefield, and it's got tap, target player exiles a card from his or her graveyard. And it also has pay 1 to exile it and exile all cards from all graveyards and draw a card. Some artifact and enchantment removal in the form of Nature's Claim that we're running into 3 of. For 1 green at instant speed, you destroy target artifact or enchantment, its controller gains 4 life. Because we're playing Infect, we don't really give a shit about the gain life. And 3 copies of one of the best cards to come out of the M20, and that is Veil of Summer, which is for 1 green at instant speed. You draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn, and then you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black until end of turn. The amount of removal and counter spells that this thing just shits on is insane. Veil of Summer is an absolute all-star in sideboards. I think this is going to be one of the most popular cards to come out of M20, and it's definitely seeing a lot of play already in Modern, so definitely one to watch out for. If you haven't already, go and buy some, because I definitely see it shooting up in price. It's probably going to be the next Path to Exile in terms of cost and popularity. But that is the sideboard, and that is the main board. If you like the deck, if you didn't like the deck, if you agree or disagree with some of the cards that are in there, let me know in the comments. Or if there is a deck that you want me to touch on in future deck text, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to see new videos as they were released. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, you can throw me $1 on my Patreon at patreon.com/SandersQuest. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep questing, guys.